now that we've got some text in and we're starting to bring our colors in and having it look like our site, I want to add in some of that interaction that we talked about, like having this section be a scroll group. Now, it is a scroll group by the fact that I've put that in there. So, if I prototype my recipe page here, it does in fact scroll. But there's nothing to tell a user that they should click and scroll these feature recipes. And we like to give little hints to users as how to operate the site because, not everything is as intuitive as we'd like. Now, I could go ahead and draw out a little triangle thing here, but why reinvent the wheel? There already are things that people have made and they're kind of standard, right? So like certain user interface things, everyone kind of knows what they look like and what they do. So the nice thing is we can draw on things that have already been made by getting new libraries and utilizing them. So by default, when you click on libraries, you see all of your components, all of your styles that you've set, and all of your colors. But you'll notice that I can go back out here. This is document assets, and that's my personal library. I'm going to click on that. Now, you can get user interface kits. A UI is just user interface. And the nice thing is there are certain standard ones that are really easy to get with Adobe Creative Cloud. I've already put one of them in here because I've used it a few times, but let me show you how you do that. So click on Get UI Kits, and it will launch in a new window. Here, I'll pull that guy out. And so, as you can see, find ideas, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of get a sense of what it looks like from here. You can grab Apple Design, and this has all of the things that you can see normally would happen if you had an iPhone. Then you come down and you get Google Material Design Kit, and that's the one that I was using. It's also going to help me for things like sharing and creating other icons. And then Adobe has their own. There's IBM, Alexa, all that kind of stuff. But I would say the main ones that you should probably use or try out would be Apple and Google's Material Design. So I want this one, so I'm just going to click on Add to Libraries, and it's probably going to tell me that I already have it in my library because I do, but it's just going to launch for Creative Cloud, and then as long as you're signed in, it will say, follow this library, you'll click, and now I'm following it. And this shows me all of the things that are in there. And there's a lot. There's a lot of colors that are standard in Google's interface. And then it has all of these handy pieces. So these are going to be the things that we're going to utilize. For example, our navigation arrows. We can just use these straight from the kit, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that in a second. And one of the other things that we're going to want to pull in, and we can either do that through one of these kits or we can go ahead and download it as a plugin, is to add in some sharing things. So again, we can either use, if I scroll up, the little icon social share, or we can actually go in and get a plugin which will have actual different things for Instagram or Twitter. But again, things like, your kind of standard buttons, things that people know what they do. It's really useful to use these kits because then you don't need to kind of reinvent the wheel. And because they're things that we're used to, we don't have to worry about people understanding it or not. So here you can see these are the different ones for the design templates for Apple and the regular Mac OS. And you can see that they've got these XD ones right here. So pretty easy. And then Adobe has their own. And then if you were, say, making something, especially if you're doing a voice activated thing, you might want something like Alexa. But they've got all kinds of different ones in there. So right now, the main thing that I wanted to make sure is that I've got this material designs from Google. Now you'll see I now have all of the colors in here, and they even have notes like what's an error color. They've got the different character styles in there, and then your different components. And it's these components that I'm going to utilize. So I want to scroll down and get my kind of arrow guys for my navigation. And you'll notice it's pretty small. I'm going to scale it up. It's fine because they're SVGs. So I've got those guys for kind of right and next. And you can see what else we've got just to scroll down. So you can see all the different little settings and eyeballs and check marks and stuff like that. Now, super tiny, right? Well, they're SVG icons. So that's going to be absolutely fine because we're going to be able to make them as big as we want them to, and they'll look absolutely fine. So I'm just going to go down into layers and change myself back over to here so that I can make this bigger. Now, there's a couple things that are a bit funky about this, and I'll show you what I mean. It's going to look slightly different than what we've had before. You see that how there's a little link in that corner, and before we've had a triangle. That's telling me that this is a linked asset and a linked component. And so it basically, we're using a copy of what's up online. So what I can do is I can actually unlink this and have it be my own local copy. Oop. If I can click on that corner correctly. So if I want to click directly onto that corner and do unlink component, then it makes it my own local copy, and then I just Command K, make it a copy. I can also, I'm just going to scroll over, you can see I'm zoomed in at like 450%. If I click on this guy again, I've got that, and I can make local. Where's my make local? I should be able to click and it says make local. So you see how I've got this guy here. Oh, make local right there. And right here, I want to make it local. And now I've got that nice little diamond that I'm looking for. Now the other thing that's a bit funky, because it is a SVG, you'll notice that I'm dragging the box and the bounding box is getting bigger, but my actual element isn't. I need to double click on it to get the actual image, because it's basically a set of points inside of a line or inside of a box. So now that I've made it a little bit bigger so I can actually get it, I'm going to go back out. So I'm at 75%. Now I need to double click so that I get the actual piece. I'm going to pop that in there. That's probably about right. And get you, and again, you want to make sure you double click into it, and I'm going to zoom in again because it's a little bit too tiny for me to really see what I'm doing. There we go. That's the one that I want. I'm going to hold down Shift to make sure I make it the right size. And I can zoom out, and I think this one's bigger. I'm going to go ahead, and now that it's big enough for me to actually like grab and see what I'm doing, bring it over. I like the size of the other one better. So I'm just going to line these guys up, double click so I get my box, and try to get these to be closer to the same size. Line it up at the... And it doesn't have to be exact. I need to remind myself of that more than you guys. Come on. And I've lost it. There we go. Come on, buddy. Come with me. There you go. All right. A little bit smaller. There we go. Okay. Now I can pull this guy over, line that guy up. And now there's something to tell people I've got stuff on either side. And if you want to scroll, then there's something to scroll there. And you can always go back to your document assets and then see your other libraries that are there. And you can also, if say I downloaded one, I can click on plus and I can go ahead and create new, and then I can bring in other pieces. As you can see here, my current files library, I could publish that if I was sharing this with somebody else. But I'm going to show you in the next video coming up instead how we would export assets when we want to utilize them, say, as they are, for us to make our actual site in the end. But hopefully this gives you a sense of how libraries can help. And the other thing we can do, again, remember we could also use a plugin if we wanted to find, say, icons. You got this guy. If you wanted to, say, get the different sharing icons, you could do that. You could even go, you could go back to plugins and say search for social. And then you would get it doesn't bring you up much better, but This icons one's probably good for pulling up your different logos and things like that. So you get the idea that between things like your user interface kits and different plugins, you don't have to really reinvent things that have already been created. I can also go ahead and change the color of this to match the rest of my site. Maybe I want that to be this color. So there are all these little things you can do to make things easier for your user to understand what's happening while still customizing it so that it looks like your site and what you want it to do.